Well, welcome to this bonus segment here on Security Weekly. I am your host, Paul Asadorian, and today we're going to be talking about working from home. Many of us have worked from home for quite some time and would like to share our advice, tips, and tricks. Many of those social, many of those habits that you should or should not have, and some technology, but not so much security, technology of how you do video conferencing and the like. Joining me today is Mr. Larry Pesce. Larry, welcome.
Thank you. And yes, absolutely. We're practicing our social distancing. And
yes, we are.
This was kind of a last minute decision thing. So here I am from remote well, perfect for the show, right?
That's right. From home. Mr. Lee Neely is here with us. Lee, welcome.
Yeah, very much social distancing, but enjoying the opportunity to be here.
Mr. Tyler Robinson.
Buenos dias. Enjoying our new isolation in effect as of today.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Scott Lyons is here with us. Scott, welcome.
What's going on there, fam? How's everything going on?
Hey, we're getting by. Can't complain, really. To be honest with you, there's people in much worse shape than we are, certainly. So hopefully our advice today can help some folks be a little more productive working from home. Larry, you did the prep for this one. I'm just here to talk smack. Yeah.
So no, I think we wanted to cover some stuff. You're just working from home. A bunch of us have been doing this for a number of years, and we've tried a bunch of things. We've had a bunch of things that work. One from the environment and just all of the things that we found about isolation and not being in an office and break time and food and all of those types of things. And then into the second half about some of the technology that we found that works, and not about securing your home network for work from home, because Joff just did a great webcast on that with Black Hills, and a bunch of other folks have done it. But I think for our community, that many of us haven't worked from home or worked from home for long periods of time and are missing much of the other aspect. So what I think I want to start with was to talk about some of the things that we found working from home from an environment perspective. And I think for me, one of the big ones when I went to work from home, and this may be tough given that all of a sudden many of us have just been pushed to work from home. But when I started more than 10 years ago, it was very much a conscious decision that I would have a place where I could go with a door that closed, and that was the office. And we very much got our kids trained as they grew up as if Daddy's in his office, you need to make sure he's not on the phone, or he doesn't have his headset on, or knock gently on the door before you interrupt, as opposed to just running in and barging in. So I think one of the ones is if you can find a spot to go work with a door that can close is great. But
yeah, Larry, I forgot.
Having a specific area to go work is huge.
I forgot about the basics because I worked from home up until 2015 when we got the studio, and I set up my office here, obviously. So now when I'm back working from home more often now, I'd come into the studio just really to do shows. I don't come in on my non-show days. And Johnny and I practice very much social distancing here at the office, so much so we use different coffee machines, different bathrooms. We don't touch each other's food or drink or anything like that. So, but in the at home, I forgot how important it was to have an office, right? And I kind of took that for granted that I have an office at home. I go in, I close the door, like Dad's at work, right? And when you first start working from home, you might not have that, right? Larry and I both worked, and many of us, right, in offices where you went to the office every day outside of your home, and experimented with different, like maybe I can work from the living room today or the kitchen. That it doesn't work. We've tried it. Yeah. We've all tried it, right? My brother-in-law works from his dining room table. I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
So I've got this cute little redhead that's about to be 5, right? And I've got a door that locks, right? She can't get into it. And it seems that whenever I'm starting on something really big where I need a lot of concentration, along comes the redhead and...
Yep.
Daddy, and you're like, oh, I just started this process. Why? Yes, dear. Right. Mommy wants you to know that we're going out. Okay, no problem, right? And it's like, oh, you're killing me over here. If there was only a red light I could put above the door and say, if this thing's spinning, well, you know what to do.
Scott, you bring up a very good point, and something that I also kind of lost sight of not working from home as much up until recently is the importance of what Gene Kim called flow, right? And I think that's a really, really excellent point, is that when you go into an office, right, most people working in office in corporate America today understand flow and understand the headphone rule. If you have your headphones on, you don't bug someone, right, kind of thing, and know that if people are working, they're working, and I'll catch them when they're in the cafeteria. When you go home, your family may not understand some of those kind of unspoken rules or the concept of flow. And so when you start working from home, you have to have that conversation with your family. That's the most important conversation you can have with the aspect of working from home, is the cost of interruption, right? And then I'm not being a jerk. Right. It's just you have to explain to them the cost of interruption. And now that we haven't done it for a while, when I worked from home, we lost sight of that, and I was working on a project that required a lot of concentration. I put on Twitter, we made a huge migration of our wiki to a new platform, and that was required a lot of concentration. And when you're interrupted, that stuff doesn't get done. And that's probably one of the most important things, I think, working from home.
Yeah. That's all about setting those expectations.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, sorry. That's all about setting those expectations and having those open conversations with your children and letting them know, like, hey, this is work, and being very frank with them so that they understand why you have to work, and they're not dumb, like really figuring that out. But the counter side to that, though, is having that work-life balance, making sure that when you're done working and you do set some times or some flexible hours in which you do your work, that you also stop working. When you're at home, you have to have that kind of clear distinction. That's why a separate space is important. So when you come out, your kids don't see you on a computer, on your phone, and they don't know if you're working or not. They don't know if they can approach you, if you're off bounds or inbounds. Like having those availability and those clear lines and boundaries for the kids makes it good for them, so that they feel like they have an open door to you still.
Yep.
For those who don't work from home, right? For those who don't work from home, it's all about getting into the routine, right? When you get up, you brush your teeth, hopefully, do the 3 military S's. Hopefully you can go Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about, right? Get in your car, drive to the office, do your work, get in your car, drive home, have dinner, right? In the office, you have you sit down for a good part of the morning, make sure that your hair is not on fire, answer any emails that you may have, get up, go to the coffee maker, go back, sit at your desk, get up, go talk to people. Really what it is working from home is a readjustment in the routine, right? And it's a very difficult readjustment for a lot of people, right? They're used to this way of, like I was saying, get up, go to work, go home, dinner, sleep, get up, go to work, right? If you can establish your routine, right, and then voice that routine with everybody else, it'll make your life 10 times easier. Am I wrong?
No, I agree, Scott. I think you have to also define with your family work times and non-work times, right? And your work time is probably not going to be 9 to 5 when you work from home. In fact, that's one of the great benefits of working from home. Is your work time doesn't have to be 9 to 5. So very frank with the family. I'm like, look, I'm going to work probably till, maybe around 3 today, or maybe I'm going to take this morning as an example. I didn't work from home, right? But I said in the morning, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to help all the kids with their homework, because we're essentially homeschooling our children right now, as are most people in the U.S., right? And so I stuck around, helped with homework this morning, and we knew that that was non-work time for Dad, right? And then Dad was going to actually go to the office, and frankly, whether that's here or at home, that's when Dad's going to work. And maybe I'm off work a little early. We're going to go for a walk. And then I'm like, after everyone goes to bed, 9, 10 o'clock, I'm going back to work for a couple of hours, right? After everyone's asleep. And you just have to establish, like Scott said, that new routine. And that may change daily, weekly.
Yep, and Paul, I think this is one of the things that we're going to find with sort of the quote, the new normal, as everybody's saying about, that many employers are going to find that the work from home and the work remote is actually a tenable option. I think folks are going to find that a more flex work schedule is also going to work out for folks too. Like, similar types of thing, Paul. My morning this morning was, Orion, our little one. Her schoolwork, her schoolroom is right there. Like, so she comes in and we get her started in the morning, and I'll do some things that don't require long tasks, like some emails and a few little things here and there.
Great point, Larry.
Go back and forth to help her, and then like this afternoon. I cut out of work at 2:30. We went for a hike. We were gone about 90 minutes. I came back. I did some work. I'll do some work later tonight.
Yep.
And flex hours are hugely important to that.
But
and,
Larry, you hit on
but
something.
not abusing flex hours is
Yeah,
also important.
exactly. But you hit on something I think is really important, is that your work schedule is going to fluctuate and the environment based on the type of work that you're doing, right?
Yes.
If you've got a day, like some of my days, if they're filled with meetings, I'm going to be answering email in between, doing smaller tasks, I can be interrupted, right? But when I'm pushing out an entire new Docker deployment into production, that's not a time where I can be easily interrupted. So the family also needs to know there's going to be some days, maybe some weeks where, you know what, this isn't like a heavy project week. This is meeting here. I got email, update documentation. I can do the type of work that I can be interrupted. But when I'm writing code, doing a pen test, working on Docker deployments, those types of things, maybe even writing a lengthy document like a pen test report or something, that's when I need the time, like a block of time where I can't be interrupted. So that's important.
Yep, and thinking about
finding
that
those
for me.
times.
Oh, sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead. So I was going to say, finding those times in which you realize that you are in that flow state, or you have more productivity that may be kind of outside the classical hours, really understanding and getting used to what works for you for certain tasks. If you're answering emails or doing particular mundane tasks, maybe that's a 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. and then you're not cutting into helping with the homework. Or if you're more productive at night, having that flexibility, but really understanding where your times personally start to match up. There's meetings and stuff you have to make during the day, but that flexibility also leads to productivity if you can kind of figure out for yourself what works and when the most productive time or hours are.
Yeah, see, 5 to 8 for me is that's coding time, right?
Yes.
That's prime coding time for me. But it might be different for other people.
I think I can hear Lee in there.
So I was going to say is the having a known schedule is important, not just for you, but for the folks you work with, and with the folks that are now all of a sudden working from home and teams are not in the office. I know not everybody worked from home. Having a communication vessel, a Slack channel, a Manamorphs channel, something where you can say, hey, when you're in and when you're out, because everybody's used to just being able to walk down the hall and grab you. Huge awareness as you figure out the new normal and you're trying to find out who's around. Big help.
One of the most one of the most overlooked rules, right? When you're working from home and you've got a new routine, you need to take care of yourself, right? Personal hygiene. As a DEFCON attendee, we call it the 3-2-1 rule, right? 3 hours of sleep, 2 square meals a day, and at least 1 shower. Please use soap with what's going on out there, right? So that might be some sage advice for trying to take care of yourself.
Yep, and those things all have some variations too, and you're working from home, so maybe 7, 8, 10 hours of sleep might be okay, and maybe a shower every other day. But for me, some of that routine is I get up every morning and I get dressed. Now, maybe on a Friday after a podcast, after a late night, maybe that getting dressed is still some pajamas for until 10 o'clock. But at some point in the day, I will get dressed. I will become human. I'll put on pants that require a belt and those types of things. So getting dressed, and it's not like I'm putting on a suit, but I'm dressed. The other one that I find too about taking care of yourself is how many of us work in an office, and many times the meals are whatever's around the corner at the little delicatessen and those types of things. I find that I can eat better because I can shop for myself and because the refrigerator is right there. And these are also some things that might be difficult in the current state of affairs. But to that, and that getting up and taking care of yourself and taking a break, in many cases, what I will do is that I know I'm going to have a healthy for me or a good or a decent lunch. That break around 10:30 when I might get up to get a second cup of coffee is preparing some of the things that I might want for lunch. Like if I'm going to have ramen, I need to chop some vegetables and maybe I need to whisk some eggs or something of the like. I can
Really?
get that prepared at my
I just
10:30
put-
break and then take that to lunchtime.
I just add hot water to the ramen cup, but
But see, now I
Well-
can eat better because I can have better
Yeah.
for me ramen with
No.
real vegetables.
But Larry, you said something that was interesting, and I've been trying to find a way to describe when I did work from home, when I worked for Tenable for about 8 years, right? I would almost have a game like, how long can I wear the same pajama pants? Like, is it 3 days before it gets so gross like I have to change them, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, if you're happy and you're in your same pajamas for a couple days, that's cool. But what I found is that when I did that, you get like a little kind of depressed, right? I mean, not like super depressed, but like you kind of don't feel good about yourself as much when you're like, wow, I've been in the same clothes for like 3 days. It's kind of a downer, right? And I think
Yeah.
getting up every day, showering and putting clothes on, like Larry said, pants with a belt, I mean, maybe even a button-down shirt, get dressed up and go to work. It's cool, right?
Paul,
I think it helps your mood.
If you can smell yourself and you know you've washed your upper lip that morning, it might be time to change your pants.
Yeah. Sometimes admittedly that happens.
I
You
hear
got to
Lee
get
in
into
there.
a work frame of mind.
Mm.
Yeah,
You have
I like
to
to
be-
I like to dress how you're gonna feel, right? You always want to show up. If you don't show up and dress how you want to get paid, or you don't show up and want to feel professional, like if you need that boost and you need to feel that professional aspect or that kind of impact, then you really need to do that in a manner that works for you. But getting dressed for me is, I'm going to throw on a button down. I'm going to throw on some slacks and a nice pair of shoes, even if I am going to sit in front of the computer all day, because
Hey.
hey, that's what makes me feel good and makes me feel professional.
Hey, I sometimes I feel great. I put on a new tracksuit and I'm good, right? And I'm comfortable.
It's a dragon onesie, Paul. It's not a tracksuit.
Yeah, I have been known to wear the onesies at home too when I work. It's
Wow.
It's always fun.
I
It's
find
always
I've gotta
fun
dress more
when
than that, or
when
I
we wear
feel like I'm
onesies and
playing.
customers who are just meeting us are like, "What are you wearing?" Right? Especially in going to conferences, there are a lot of us that like to play different characters. Like there's one guy that I know that likes to dress up like Deadpool, and dead serious. You'll see people that have never met him talking to him, and then he'll go and change clothes, come back, and they don't know who he is.
costume
one of
day
the-
in the home office.
Yeah. So one of the, of course, now I was going to say something I can't remember what it was. One of the other ones that is definitely some things to think about. Oh, is the social interaction. Working from home. If you live alone and now you're spending all day and all night in the same area, and you don't get to interact with anybody. Sometimes a phone call just isn't enough. And we've been seeing lots of people that are doing like Zoom meetings and like that type of stuff. And honestly, I find that is really helpful to have that type of interaction, even with folks outside of your family. Like for me, Paul, one of the highlights of my week is coming to the studio on Thursday, because I get to see other humans that aren't my family. And given the current circumstances, seeing other humans isn't necessarily an option, but seeing someone other face to face via video is
almost.
It's almost. And if at all possible, like if I've got to meet with somebody at work, instead of just doing voice, we'll do like a quick Google Meet with one or two people. And in fact, every afternoon we have a standing 1 p.m. for 2 hours, 3 p.m. Eastern meeting where we do Google Meet with video, if it's appropriate for you to do video, and we sit there and work on camera, even if we're not talking to each other. We're in the presence of other people.
Yeah. That's really cool. Larry, I want to go back to the food thing for a moment too.
Yeah.
Because I think that could go either way, right? You could develop really bad habits or really good habits. What I find when I was working from home, I tend to drink more water at home. I don't know what it is. It's not like we don't have water here, but like at home I may have some fresh lemons and limes, and I fill up a really big glass and I drink a lot more water. I don't do that in the office. It's coffee. So like you gotta sometimes tune your habits. The eating thing too, you can be raiding the fridge all the time and eating really bad, right? Or Larry, you sound like you're turning that around. You eat healthier at home.
I try. It doesn't always work.
No, I agree.
Yesterday I had potato sticks for lunch, because next thing I knew it was 3:00 and I'm like, oh, I forgot lunch. So
is that fries? Potato
What's
sticks?
that?
Is that considered fries? Is that what potato sticks
Were they
are?
from Idaho?
pretty much. Yeah, yeah. No, like potato sticks they're like those deep fried crunchy ones that come in that sealed can from French's.
Damn,
So,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, I could
keeping
totally
snacks
see you
around
doing
important.
haggis for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay.
You know, you're not far. You're not far.
So the other
You know,
the other
get
thing
some,
while we're talking
get some
about
free
eating
range
is
chickens to
get
lay
the
you some
hell
free
away
range
from the
eggs.
computer when you're eating. Don't eat at your
Yes.
keyboard.
That's a good point. Yeah, and have lunch dates too. When I worked from home, we would go to lunch. Larry and I would go to lunch. Go get sushi.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing with my wife. We'll try at least once a week when the kids are at school and when we can go out and have a lunch date. Sometimes that means go sit at the darn kitchen table with the kids now.
Yeah, now
and all have lunch together.
Yeah, now that's not.
You
so
know,
much
you
an
bring
option,
up a really good point in that even though you're working from home and you're still trying to be as productive as you were in the office, right? Having some personal time always does everybody good. You know, like take 10 minutes during lunch, noon to 1, 11 to noon, whenever you take lunch, right? And go sit in a dark room and just decompress for a second, right? You know, because this is a new process. Am I wrong in thinking that, guys?
No. I think exercise is important too. You know, getting on the treadmill at home. You know, there's tons of exercise. I see people exercising all the time. I feel like people are exercising more now that they're home than not, and then all the gyms are closed, right? Kind of concerns me about what's going to happen to the gyms when all this blows over, right? Because everyone's doing all the remote. I mean, we did yoga. I was teaching the kids Tai Chi, like, you know, the whole thing, because we're all in the house together. I'm like, well, we have to exercise. I think it's a really good habit to develop when you work from home.
Same thing. The kids did. Orion, our little one, it was gym day today, and they had to watch some videos and do some exercise for 5 minutes with the video. And I said, well, you've done karate remote twice this week already. And I know mommy wants to do some yoga. So this was my push to go. I'd subscribe to the Yoga with Adrienne YouTube channel and went out of the TV, fired it up for him. And the two of them did yoga for 40 minutes this morning.
Wow, I didn't know Iron Geek was doing yoga. That's awesome.
Not Adrian.
Oh, different Adrian.
Yeah. One's much better to look at than the other.
I think it would be hilarious if Iron Geek had a yoga channel. If you're listening, Adrian, we want a yoga channel on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Iron Geek Yoga. Dude, I could totally see
I could totally see it.
See that.
Iron yoga.
Iron Yoga.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Oh my Lord, like that would be utterly hilarious, you know?
No,
So
even if you aren't like, oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, what I was going to say was I was going to take this in a different direction, right? If you pay attention to your Facebook groups and your online groups and so on and so forth, you may see those groups throwing up Zoom meetings or Zoom links or Skype meetings or Skype links. You know, if you're feeling like you're missing that human connection, and it's not something that would be prevalent, right? It would be like that itch in the back of your head, like you're not seeing your friends, you're not seeing your coworkers, right? You know, go join those groups and make new friends. You know, working from home can be a very isolative experience if you're not careful.
Yeah, you know, and I guess a bad example, maybe Larry too, because at least once a week we would all get together, right, on Thursdays to do the podcast. So, like, if I ever was like reaching a point, it would be Thursday. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, before we had the studio and I worked from home, people would all come over to my house every Thursday, much to my wife's chagrin sometimes, especially when we were drinking more heavily than the last Thursday or whatever, right? But the point is people would come over and we'd have interaction with each other. So it kind of helped that. One thing I wanted to ask you folks that work from home now is, how do you manage the expectations of your significant others or people you live with that are like, oh, you're home now. That means you can do laundry and empty the dishwasher and clean the floor and mow the grass and trim the shrubs and take the trash out, take the trash back in, and all that stuff. How do you manage that? Because I think sometimes the expectations of the people we live with are like, oh, you're home all day. That means you're going to get all this stuff done in the house. I'm like, well, we still have to like work, right?
Yeah. So this is the one thing that I saw someone say that, like, oh, all those people that say you work from home and you've been working from home so long, it must be like a vacation. You must not do anything all day. Yeah, no, we
It's
work
like, no, we're
all
in
day.
prison. What's wrong with you?
Right.
No.
They don't call it vacation from home. They call it work from home.
Work from
right?
home.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Paul, for us, because we've been, I've been doing it 10 or more years. That when we went into that, it was very much we had to have that conversation. Was that when I was in the office, I was in the office.
Yep.
I could take breaks to take the trash in and out, but that wasn't going to happen every day, and it was. They were going to be catch can, as it were. And it's if I'm going to take a half an hour to vacuum, it's going to be another half an hour to an hour in the evening that we're not going to spend together as a family.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
then it becomes flex time. And if you want me to come have dinner and cook dinner or come and sit at the table and spend some time with you in the evenings, then that's not going to get done in the evening. Or it's going to wait for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've been home all the last couple weeks, and we've got a whole bunch of house projects. We're putting down laminate hardwood floor in our dining room. And you know what days that got done on? Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
It's not like it got done Monday through Friday because those are work days.
Yep. It is very much flex time.
You know,
Yeah,
we've when I say we, I say Josh and I, my co-owner of Red Lion, right, co-founder. We've been working from home for years at this point, right? Years and years and years and years and years. And we have an understanding with our significant others that if we are at the computer, leave us alone, right? When we're ready to take a break, we take a break. But we've educated them on that process, right? We've sat down, we've had cogent conversation about when not to approach, when we need to get work done, heads down. Me personally, I'll be playing all types of music at extremely loud volume, and my wife knows point blank, don't approach him because he's really effing busy, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So this comes to the point of how do you do that? A lot of these people have not gotten to the point where they've not had the time. I've been doing this almost 2 decades now, and it takes time and patience and a little bit of grace to kind of educate your significant other that this is kind of how this is going to go. And there's going to be mistakes made, and you really have to kind of have that open line of communication. It really comes down to being very clear with what you need and what you want, and then being very clear about what's working and what's not working. And that all comes down to communication. I know this is hard for a lot of the people in this industry or those that don't communicate well, but honestly, if you want to do this well and you want to work remote, that means very, very clear expectations are set, very clear communication channels are established, and that means meeting those expectations by following through on your part, the part that you say you're going to do and how you do it. If you're going to be off at 6 or you're going to help with dinner that night and you're going to make up work later, that means do it.
Relationships,
make sure you're not
right.
Relationships
and
fail.
the one piece that you missed in there, if I can add to it, is to make sure that they understand, right? Communication is not just a one-way street. People don't live just in your head. You have to get your thoughts out.
Well, relationships fail largely because of unmet expectations, right? And if you put that out there and both people understand that, right, it helps put everything into perspective about what Tyler and Scott just said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to sign a memorandum of understanding with my wife, and she's going to like it or no. It doesn't work like that. Let's be honest.
There's also a side effect when you're working from home and you're in your office space at home. 8 to 5. That's cool. But then if you go back in your office space, during family time, you went back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a message that you're now leaving the family to go work, which might not be the right choice.
Yes.
Yep.
Usually it is not.
Yep. And sometimes you need to communicate why you're going back into the office to go do that. For example,
I've been get a buy. You get permission.
Yeah, or not necessarily permission. Was, hey, you know that thing that we did today, that hour and a half hike that we took out of the middle of the day? That was some flex time. I got to go make some of that up because I'm a responsible person. I'm a conscientious adult. I won't necessarily have some of that today because I've already made that up in advance. Right. So, I had to help Orion with some schoolwork, not huge, but I was in here, a couple hours the other night, and I paid my debt forward as it was. So managing all that communication is good.
I think when you work from home, you have to run this balance of, like, when you talk about work, that it's a productive talk about work, because we don't want to talk about work when it's family time, but also we need to have conversations about work so that both people in a relationship understand enough about each other's jobs that when now it takes years. I think Tyler hinted towards this. It takes time, right? Now my wife and I have an understanding when I tell her I love to help the kids with the homework, but I have a webcast that I haven't done slides for and a show that I haven't prepped for, and they got scheduled back to back, and it's completely my fault. I didn't look ahead enough on my schedule, so I gotta go do that. And she's like, no, I get it, right? She understands. Now, if I had never talked about work before, she wouldn't necessarily understand that, but it runs a slippery slope. You don't want to be always talking about work in your family life as well.
That also means you alluded to something there that's important, and that's being prepared and thinking ahead a little bit so that you don't mess up those times, or you can help with those homeworks. If you can prepare for a little bit of that and you can kind of plan ahead and or take ownership if you failed to plan or you failed to do something, own that, let them know that you're apologizing for it, and here's how you're going to do better next time. That makes a big difference, and that goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't always use that everyone makes mistakes, right? But if you try and look ahead and go, hey, tomorrow I'm really busy and I want to get to work early, so therefore tonight, I'll knock off work a little early, right? If I had done that would have been cool. But everyone makes mistakes, right? Oops, sorry. Don't make a habit of that kind of stuff.
Yep. So then, Paul, switching.
Yeah, let's switch gears.
Then we'll switch it up a little bit. Lee, go
ahead. I was going to say, just as sort of starting to switch to the technical side, another piece I'm not sure we hit on is when you're setting up that home office, you got to remember ergonomics. You talked about, not sitting at the kitchen table, but it's having a good desk, a good chair, a good mouse, all that stuff, that's already done for you in the office because they pay for that, because they don't want to pay for carpal tunnel syndromes and stuff. You got to replicate that at home. You've got to have an environment that works.
To the best you can. So for example, Lee, everybody talks about having those nice fancy standing desks, and I'm sitting now, and I like to switch to a standing desk, and I didn't want to pay for one of those fancy standing desks because I have this huge, nice custom work area. So I built a standing desk, which is sitting behind me here. It's some pipe and it's a raised desk, and I have an HDMI switcher and a second keyboard that I just move over there. I stand and I can do stuff for work over there.
I think it's a great transition,
back and forth.
Right? You should trick out your home office as much as you can, right? Make it the coolest, most comfortable workplace. Largely, one thing is in your cubicle at work, you can only go so far with customizations before people start getting mad that you're got a Sawzall out. But at home, you have liberties. It's your property, and you want to look forward to going to work at home, right? Going to work in your office. I think Ed Scotus has done probably one of the best jobs ever in creating an office environment. And when you see pictures, Scott, you've got your Star Wars stuff in there. That's something I look forward to going into every day, right? Lights. I have 3 monitors at home, whereas I only have 1 here for whatever. But I try and make it as cool and awesome, and ergonomics are important. You have a nice chair, mouse rests, and wrist pads, and the whole thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And next time on the next episode of Pimp My Office featuring Paul Asadorian.
Right? That would be an awesome show. I'd love that.
Some other things to think about is that Lee brought up those ergonomics and being comfortable and that type of stuff. This doesn't require tens or hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of dollars to make what you need work. I know some people have those little things that they put their feet up on their desk, underneath their desk, so that they're in the right position.
You can make that.
Yeah, I've got one of those, and for me, the right position for me happens to be this plastic filing box where I keep all my files in underneath my desk that I can put my feet up on.
Yeah.
And that, you know what that cost me? Technically, it cost me nothing because I needed to have the file box for my files.
Right.
But it cost me, 30 seconds a week to brush the dust off of the top of it from my feet.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive, and you can customize it and use supplies and objects and materials that you have at home to trick your office out, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I have known a coworker of mine, love the guy, has shown up at a customer site, and he cannot not work at a standing desk. So we show up on site for a pen test, and they give him a sit desk, and he's like, yeah, I got to have a standing desk. So he finds these cardboard boxes in the corner that are empty, that they're heading to the recycling, and he folds them up and he builds a standing desk out of cardboard boxes at the customer site. I'm
It's
like,
awesome.
brilliant.
Wow,
And
that's cool.
It works.
I actually, I found my Michael Sant'Arcangelo gave me and I don't have it handy because I bought it years ago. But my desk here in the studio is a sit-stand desk, and it's motorized, right? But I want to say it was only a couple $100, like 300 maybe at most. It was inexpensive, right? Because they're usually like 1,000 or more. But it works perfectly fine. So you can find motorized sit-stand desks for not that much money.
Yep, IKEA.
Right.
One thing to keep in mind though, as you are kind of pimping out your office and the more kind of flair and bling that you bring, remember there are things that are distractions, and there is something to be said about having a very kind of clean workspace, whether that means you just clean up your pimped out office and make sure that it's picked up every day and there's not a bunch of distractions around, but also having a little bit of feng shui in there so you can have a clear headspace, have some focus. This is something that is definitely not my forte, and if you've seen the workspace we're in now, it's crazy. But
Yeah,
moving
I
more
love
towards
that
like
picture.
an open desk.
That picture of you in your wedding dress, Tyler, is beautiful.
Oh, it's just it's
That was when I
fabulous.
was much thinner.
Very stylish.
You know, I picked up one of those motorized desks that it was just the frame, right? Went to IKEA, got a butcher block size table.
There you go. Yeah.
And I have one. My wife has one behind me, right? And we're actually putting in a couple more for conference, right? Because we have people over every now and then. But my setup is over here. I've got audio equipment. Here is a 43-inch curved monitor, 27 here, 27 here, and a little tiny one inside of the computer itself, right? So it's all about comfort, right? How are you able to enable, right? That's a mouthful. Able to enable, right, yourself to be more productive.
Yeah.
Right.
For some reason, I find that more important at home to trick out your office and have the. Strand sent me the monitor he has. It's just Samsung like 60-inch curved monitor or something. I'm like, that's really awesome. I want one now.
I don't want to look at the wall or just I want to be able to look around out the window and see beyond me. Because just staring at the monitor gets kind of dull. I mean, I do get lost in it, but being able to look out and see outside and what's going on is also important.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see I stood up on this desk.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
we should probably talk audio, headsets, music kind of thing too.
Oh,
and webcams and some of the video conferencing etiquette. Maybe?
Yes. Having I think I'm an audiophile and I'm really neurotic about headphones. So, I mean, I have nice headphones at home that cost way more than most people spend on headphones, but and all kinds of amps and stuff like. So you should. I like having a nice set that I can listen on. And speakers too, because you're at home. If your significant other is at work and your kids are at school, you can crank music as loud as you want because there's no one to bother except maybe for your neighbors when you go past a certain decibel level. So having that stuff at home is awesome. It's a nice luxury from working from home. Is that you can have your nice audio stuff, but also independent of that, having a nice headset that you can talk on that's comfortable. My recommendation is wireless. Because I tell you what, I did very poor planning when I worked from home and had conference calls about going to the bathroom. And I get on a call, and you're on more calls when you're working from home because that's how you're communicating with all of your fellow coworkers. And I would just go on a call. I'm like, I really, really have to pee. Right now, you're all lying if you said you haven't found an empty Gatorade bottle or whatever and put yourself on mute to go to the bathroom. I know you've all done it, right? But if you're wireless, you can make that trip to the bathroom without having to excuse yourself from a call.
You
It
can
sounds
also do that if
silly,
you have
but
really long cable as well.
yes, a long tube that goes outside.
And also, again, back to some of Tyler's thinking ahead. I have a wired headset. This is the headset I use all day, every day, and it plugs in USB, but it disconnects headphone jack, which I can then use this nice little adapter and plug this into my phone. Same headset, same phone.
Same
and if
here.
I know, like, I haven't peed in a while, maybe I want to join this video conference or via phone or this WebEx via phone.
Great point. Larry.
I can go to the bathroom. Also, the cord between USB and headset is long enough to reach across the hall to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Please, for
planning
the
ahead.
love of all things holy, put yourself on mute if you are going to use the facilities.
Yep.
Yes.
Now,
And
Lee, you're
And
holding up some gear.
That includes not only one end, but that also includes the other end as well. You know, we've been on calls where we have people that are sick, right? And I don't know about you guys, but if I hear somebody throwing up in the background, oh man, I am dry heaving. I'm saying, please don't do it, right?
All the
I'm
stuff you hear on conference calls.
keep my cookies off my keyboard.
Lee, you're holding up some gear over there.
I'm holding up some stuff, at the different ends of the spectrum. The little headset that comes with your smartphone.
Yeah, I throw that in the trash.
It's not really. It's got a crappy microphone, and the sound isn't all that good.
And it's
works,
uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, and of course on the other end, my Jabra that I wear all day long. It even has the noise canceling switch on it that totally cuts out the outside world. I used to have a wireless version of this. I just had too much trouble with just the sound, it dropping out, disconnecting, or other problems, just local environment problems. So when I went to the wireless, like Larry's, I can hook it up to my phone. Those problems went away.
Yeah.
The main thing, though, is you're going to be spending a lot of time on this headset. Make sure you can wear it for many hours, and you're not going to be in pain.
Don't skimp out on the headset. Bluetooth is less problematic, I think, than a few years ago in terms of dropping out. But do your research with your Bluetooth headset, because many headsets don't like to work with Android and or iPhone and or Linux and or Mac OS, and I've been down that road so many times. I did
It also determined based on the video conferencing software as well. Like I've had certain Bluetooths just not work with the conferencing software. So really, at the end of the day, it is mostly hardline, right?
Oh, I got one of what did I get? I'll have to look it up. I got a little personal conference phone that plugs in USB that works with Linux and it works with Zoom. I haven't tested it with much other software. But we have an expensive one here in the office. It's like $300 or more that can do like multiple people and has the noise cancellation so the speaker doesn't bleed out into the internal microphones. That's the one we use when we have large numbers of people because it works really well. But if it's just you, let's see if I can find it. Anyway, I'll find it. You guys talk amongst yourselves while I
let's talk about
figure that out.
Yep. So the boom mic, great. One of the other things that moving into the webcam while you're looking at that stuff, Paul. What about some of the video?
Yeah, I like the Logitech. Well, you can't buy them.
922.
Yeah, 920 series really in any capacity works pretty well.
But
this little guy.
Yeah, that one. Now, that said, they may not be available given that everybody's moved this type of stuff, but I bet you may have some things in your home that you can use as a webcam. We were talking this before the show. You could do video capture from a whole bunch of different stuff. You could do video capture from some of the new GoPros. You can how you're saying some of the GoPros have native HDMI output now.
Yeah. So the GoPro 3, some of the older GoPro 3s have some HDMI out natively. The new GoPro 8 has what's called a media mod, where you slide a kind of a cover over it. The media mod is fantastic because it's got native 4K out that I use with a Elgato Cam Link. The Elgato Cam Link basically presents whatever you plug in HDMI as a webcam. So that means you could take like your DSLR camera, you could take just about anything that outputs native HDMI and put it in as a webcam. So that works really well.
So I have here in the office, and you could obviously use this at home, a Jabra Speak 410 OC speakerphone for USB. It is now on Amazon. Looks like they have some enabled for $109.
But and it's Jabra, so it's a good name too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I use the Brio, Logitech Brio, which is the Ultra HD webcam, and I literally just went onto Amazon and looked at the price available, and right now they have it. I got it for $89, right? Outside of this COVID stuff, like, let's be honest, right? But I went on Amazon and I looked at it, $495.
Oh my God.
Are you out of your mind?
Price gouging.
Yeah. So I wondered if Johnny wanted to chime in on some of this
for shipping.
stuff.
Yeah, Johnny is one of our production folks. I think he has some comments on some of the stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's Johnny.
I would love to. Hey, what's up, guys? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So going back to the mics, if you're not looking to spend too much money, Josh uses a Blue Snowball. Let me just pull it up real quick.
Hey,
So
we
right
go.
there, you can get, you can get the shock mount, the pop filter, and the boom arm for $74.99, which isn't breaking the bank, and it's definitely decent quality. I enjoy his quality coming in. If you want to go a little higher, Tyler and Lee know what I'm about to drop in, and that's going to be the Yeti. This is a straight up USB plug-in. You don't need like an audio driver. You don't need like a USB interface or anything, and it's $129.99. I love the sound of this mic. It's USB. It's plug and play. That thing is awesome. Now, what we have here in studio, which is one
Well,
of
Johnny,
Paul-
which
Yeah.
one do I have at home that we had tested that works pretty well?
So it's an Audio Technica. I believe
Yeah.
that one's like $60 to $65.
Yeah.
That one's good too, and that one's not going to break the bank.
That one has
either.
analog and USB, and it's the one in my home studio.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, you can plug it in analog or you can plug it in USB. And like I said, no drivers needed or anything. I mean, it's plug and play. It'll recognize your computer will recognize it as the microphone. And I mean, the sound is definitely decent. Now, what we have here in studio, which is one of my favorite mics, and this is Paul's favorite. This is the Heil PR40.
Oh, yeah, that's the Cadillac.
So this mic is absolutely beautiful. So I mean, here you can see you can get the boom arm. It comes with an XLR cable, the shock mount, and the mic for $400. Now, the thing with this is it's not USB plug and play. So you're going to need.
A Scarlett 2i2?
So Paul, actually
either
now
2i2 or 2i4.
the third gen of the Solo
That's it.
Has
Yeah.
the balanced
it
out.
has balanced outs. So in this sense, all you'd have to do is connect an XLR from the Heil right into that XLR port on the left-hand side, and then you would plug, your headphones in on the right, and you can, adjust the gain levels. It's got 48-volt phantom power, which that mic does not need. Most of the broadcast microphones don't need 48 volt.
Right.
The headset that Paul's using right now is a Sennheiser HD26.
Yeah, these are broadcast quality. But
Yeah.
wait, so how much is the Scarlett Solo now?
So the Scarlett Solo is $109.99, and
Yep.
that's the third gen with the balanced outputs. Now, if you want to get a little fancier, you can drop in the 2i2, which is all what we use here. Now, when we bought them, I believe, Paul, it was the second gen, which has the balanced outputs on the back. So this
Yeah.
has two XLR or 2 quarter-inch inputs. So those are universal quarter-inch and XLR inputs. So if your mic is going in quarter-inch or you have an 1/8 inch, you could plug an adapter in. I don't like to plug in adapters because it gets a little iffy with quality, but it has the option for XLR and quarter-inch on that. My favorite broadcast microphone, and don't get me wrong, Paul, I love the Heil, but it's actually what my man Scott Lyons is rocking right now, which is the Shure SM7B. Now, you can see out of 435 ratings, it has 5-star on Amazon.
Wow.
So obviously, with the SM7B and the Heil PR40, you're going to need some kind of USB interface to be able to get that power. You're going to need some kind of a preamp, but it's USB-B out of the back right into your computer USB.
Oh, interesting.
But
I didn't
those are, I mean, if you're looking to spend a little bit of money, I mean, you
What
can
are
hear
those running?
So those are running 400, same exact quality, same exact price as
But
the
it has
Heil
USB.
PR40. That one does not. You need a Scarlett with this one as
Okay.
well. So
now wait,
Yeah.
hold on, Johnny. Let's.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, we're talking about beyond conference calls. If you want to do your own video production or podcasts, these are good recommendations. Now I saw where the Audio Technica. What are the Audio Technica headsets that we use? The older ones that are listing. Yeah, there it is right there. They were listing for $199.
It's almost like you
saw
knew that I was going to talk about it. So these are the Audio-Technica BPHS1s. These are the ones that this is the audio that you hear when we go to conferences. We have, I think, 5 or 6 sets of these, Paul, but like what Larry was talking about, very similar to Larry's headset that he's wearing. You can monitor with the headphones, and it has the boom arm, which is awesome. Our CEO, Matt Alderman, loves those, and he uses those on all of our shows. It's because like not similar to like, something like the Yeti where it's stationary and unidirectional, which means it's just coming in from the top, or the Shure SM7B or the Heil PR40. Those are unidirectional, so you have to speak directly into the top of those. That is going to follow your mouth wherever it goes, so you can turn. And it's not, you know what I mean? You're not going to, lose any dB. You're not going to lose any gain when you're turning those. So that's why these are awesome.
Yeah, my advice, Johnny, for people just getting into podcasting, if you got that Scarlett Solo for $109 and you got the Audio-Technica BPHS1, so a couple of notes on that. You can, if you contact us, I can give you the link. You can swap out the ear cups. You may have noticed on our videos we have red ear cups that are way more comfortable and probably around $10 for a set of new ear cushions for those. You can also replace the cable on the Audio-Technica BPHS1s, and they're like super durable, right? We've had the same ones for years. They are not on sale, but you can get them renewed on Amazon for $166.99. I totally recommend that. Swap the ear cups out. And if there's a problem with the cable, you can always replace it. I don't remember what the cable costs, but it is replaceable. That with the Scarlett Solo, which also has balanced outputs if you need to have a second recording, would be virtually noise-free with the balanced cable. That's an awesome setup.
Yeah, and so if we were to break it down for people that aren't watching, right, and they're listening, right, Johnny, what are we looking at for total packages, right? Like what is the total price we're looking at here? Can you break that down?
Oh. Yeah, sorry.
Johnny
it's hard switching and doing this, but so I mean, Scott, you were asking like price of like what this is going to cost, correct? Like
right, because the Shure SM7B not only needs a Focusrite, but it needs an audio processor like a DBX 286S, right? And from experience, I can tell you that once you have all the bits and bobs, cables, parts, right, and so on and so forth, you're probably looking at about $1,200 to $1,300 investment in sound only, right? But the other ones, if you could break the other ones down, that would be great.
Yeah. So, you don't need the DBX. So that Scarlett is basically your preamp. Now, what Scott's doing is he has the exact same compressors that we have in the studio, which is the DBX 286S, and I can drop that.
Those are awesome.
They're awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's an excellent preamp. It's got de-essers, it's got limiters, compression gate. And I mean, that's what Paul's running through right now. He's running through the Sennheiser HMD26, and that's going through the DBX 286S compressor. Let me throw that up just so I can show the audience.
That might be a little overkill for your conference calls, but if you're going to do podcasts at home, Scott, I think your price point is probably pretty spot on. These Sennheisers that I'm wearing now are about $500.
$550.
Yeah, $550. But they're like the same ones that you'll see on sports broadcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, the reason that I went with this was because of the need, right? We're on Zoom calls all the time. We're recording Security and Compliance Weekly. By the way, if you have never seen that, go look it up. It's definitely worth watching. Sorry, guys, shameless plug there. But, to us, the sound quality and being able to get points across, right, and that clarity of vision really rings home with the clients and customers that we're talking with, right?
Yeah, so Scott, you wanted some price points, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, so if you're going simple, that blue that I had shared, it's $75 USB plug and play. If you want to go with the headset with the boom, kind of similar to what Larry has, you're going to need a Scarlett, and you can get the Solo, and that's $110 for the Solo. That goes right USB, and then you're going to plug the BPHS1 Audio-Technica headset right into that XLR, and then so it's got an XLR and a 1/4 inch. That one needs a USB interface, obviously, because it's XLR and has the 1/4 inch. But on the right of that Solo, it has that 1/4 inch in to be able to monitor. So that's going to run you about $310. On the higher end stuff like the PR40 and the SM7B, those are both $400 microphones, broadcast quality. I mean, any radio show that you see like Hot 97, 94.5. They're using SM7Bs all around. So that's going to cost you $400, and then you could get a Scarlett Solo for $110, and it's going to run you at about, probably like $530 to $550 after tax.
I do want to say the Audio Technica ATR 2100, it's USB or XLR, it's cardioid dynamic. They're unavailable on Amazon, but we paid $63 for one of those.
And on another note, if if you're still working from home and you need to have some better quality on the headset, microphone, that type of stuff, I posted mine to Slack for you guys as well. But on Amazon currently, it's the HyperX Cloud 2, which is the one that I'm using now. It was like it's a gaming headset. I'm like, I need something better. I got to try something, and that's the one I can go back and forth to my phone and you name it. It's $99, and it's available Amazon Prime right now. Yeah. So, an affordable option for those of us that are like, oh crap, I'm working
the
from
other
home all of
thing
a
that we
sudden.
saw was the Shure 48 that's up on Amazon as well for $48.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's also XLR required, so you would need a Scarlett to do it. But it's
So now you're talking
the quality
150.
that comes out is crazy.
Yep.
Nice.
I want to go back to the webcam for one moment, because I bought this webcam, which also is unavailable on Amazon, but it's an Aukey FHD webcam. It's 1080p, and when I bought it, it was $36.99. And I tell you what, it works with Linux. It works completely fine for Zoom calls. When they become available, Aukey FHD webcam 1080p, $36.99.
And that is AUKEY, right?
AUKEY.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
back to the webcam thing, Paul. I think there's something that I wanted to bring up, and sort of getting us towards the end of the show here, likely, is about some video conference
Etiquette.
things that we should be thinking about on the video conference. I know there's a number of that have gone. Just all of a sudden we've gone to remote work and we need to be on these video calls, and we've talked about getting dressed, and we've talked about all this great technology, and we've talked about being healthy and these types of things. But I think there's a delicate balance about being on a camera and, mute, no camera when you go to the bathroom, but about the environment in which you're in. For me, I'm in my home office. This is where, I pimp my office, so to speak. And right now, and I think even if we set the stage now, folks going into those calls know that many people have moved to an area where they're not normally working from. And I very much expect to go on a call with a customer right now and see rafters and heating systems, because they're working from their basement, and because that's where they've got some available space. But to me, that's fine. But if there's piles of dirty laundry and beer cans on the floor, maybe not so much. So have a tidy camera shot behind you. Mine may be cluttered, but there's some organization, there's some fun stuff there. It's tidy.
Yeah.
And
be mindful of your background.
Your pile of laundry in your underwear is not such a good idea.
Yeah, dirty dishes laying around. I mean, you name it. We've seen it all.
Yep.
And you can leverage many of the conferencing software. I believe Zoom has the ability to upload a picture. We have a corporate image that we can display that has the website and the logo. You can put up a video. We had some pretty funny guys this week on one of our conference calls where he was in a boat in Italy, like just riding the water, or a guy was on a camel riding on the back of a camel. So you can get creative with that and use it if you have to. Otherwise, a plain black, blue, pick a color that works well for you. Pick something that you can put over a wall and make a background. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, or move for the video call to an area that just has a white wall. So it is important.
Yep. And Tyler, some of those background things aren't always feasible. Like for me to try to put up a green screen, like Scott had earlier, that'd be nigh impossible. I wouldn't be able to get out of my office, and I'd have to build all this gantry and you name it. But the tasteful office behind me is reasonable. Some other things
It's
like
all
you
the
were saying that
Stormtrooper helmet.
the other stuff like with the green screen or the background can be distracting.
Yeah.
And it can be potentially chewing up CPU cycles to do those replacements and maybe making your performance on that call, robotic or jumping and those types of things.
Yeah, I think what I find works best in a background is a bookcase works really nice because you can put different stuff in it, and it's dynamic and it has texture and things like that. And it's not normally a place where you might have a beer can or whatever, right? You put some nice things in that background. I mean, having designed a lot of the, hand in designing a lot of the sets around here, I do really like a bookcase because you can put all kinds of different stuff in it. Scott's got awesome Star Wars stuff. Tyler's got really cool stuff, and I see an old Nintendo on there and stuff. That stuff's really cool. And you don't need to be extravagant, right? You can get bookcases or shelves anywhere.
Yeah, it reminds me
there's
of
some
that.
other basic stuff.
Yep, go ahead, Lee.
One of the things, and you're even hearing it on this podcast, but when in a big meeting, remembering to mute yourself when you're not talking.
Yeah.
As well as figuring out your etiquette for putting your hands up to be heard when you need to get in there, because the people in the room can't see you. Well, maybe somebody who's got all the people on the screen in front of you can, but a lot of times, if somebody's presenting, they don't know who's trying to get their attention. So figuring that out, whether there's a raise the hand button or you sit there and bang on your microphone, whatever it takes.
Find a quiet place too. There's nothing more distracting than the all kinds of commotion going on because you're in a coffee shop or a cigar lounge, or I guess I've been guilty of a lot of that over the years, but
airport, hotel lounge.
Yep. Yep. But so maintaining that background and having it be tasteful is appropriate. Like I remember years ago, there's always that picture of the couple. Like the quote engagement photo of the couple, and in the background there's a big dildo and the tube of anal lube.
Right.
Think about what's behind you. Like, it's interesting now what you can actually see behind me because I'm looking at the background and I can see the neighbor's TV in the background over this shoulder here, right about.
Yeah.
So
that also goes for work stuff. Keep your OPSEC in check. Make sure you don't have a whiteboard with customer names on it, IP addresses, passwords. Be mindful of any kind of reflection that, if you're wearing glasses and you're looking at stuff on a very large screen, it's pretty easy to pick out stuff that, may not be appropriate for the client you're talking with. So
you don't
be mindful.
You don't want the client to go, hey, Tyler, what's that behind you on the desk? Is that preparation H?
Yeah. No, it's a wedding picture, actually.
Or what are you really supposed to be looking at that while we're on a conference call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear I'm not.
The reflection too. Be mindful of the reflection. There's a picture or sometimes glasses and you've got inappropriate images. Sometimes you can see that.
Yep. Or like this, I have this reflective surface right behind me. I have to watch what it can see on the monitor in front of it.
And when you share your screen too, right?
Absolutely.
Make sure your incognito window's closed.
Yeah.
I remember going on site with a client. I was going on with another engineer, and this guy forgot to change his tab that he was looking at in the hotel room the night before when he started screen sharing. Oh man. Oh. It was a shock.
Yeah.
To say the least. It was a shock.
Yep. And if you're screen sharing and you need to look something up on the internet, stop sharing your screen because many times the first Google result that you click on may not be appropriate for mixed audiences. Just ask sales instructor Tim Medine about his experience Googling for MD5 hashes.
And what came up? I think he told us when he came on the show.
Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, so some of the easiest way to find passwords is to Google for the MD5 hash. And he Googled for the MD5 hash. He clicks on the link, and while the link is loading, he's walking through the classroom. But it was for an MD5 hash on a file name instead, and it turns out it happened to go to an adult website where the various ladies may have had extra body parts.
Now I remember that story.
Yes.
Oh man.
To use a phrase, chicks with dicks comes to mind.
What could people use? Because there's an incognito window that you can get on Chrome and Firefox. Can you do that in Internet Explorer?
Don't know.
Or are they still back
who
in the
uses
dark
Internet
ages
Explorer?
trying
I think it's
to
called Edge
assault
now.
Area 51.
Yeah, I think if you use Edge, you get that. but not-
Also, to that note, wherever you set up your webcam, be mindful of other people in your house, right? That might be walking around in their bathrobes or not their bathrobes, right?
Yep.
Like you are recording and streaming when you're doing that, so be careful.
Yeah, we had that at our virtual karate class just the other day. Kids there doing karate with the webcam, and the student was focused, and dad walks by from left to right in his underwear.
Yep.
I'm like, yep.
Wow.
That can happen.
So a quick tip on the Windows side: if you do have to share screens, Windows has the ability to have multiple desktops. And you can actually set your desktop, usually it's swipe up with 3 fingers or down by your start button to the right of it or the search. Creating a new desktop that's clean, making sure that there's no icons. You can right click on your desktop, say don't show icons, and have a nice logo of your company. It's a real nice way so you can do screen sharing and make sure you share a clean screen as well as a background that doesn't have any telling client secrets.
Also,
like
if you're using a camera, you should make sure that the on-screen display isn't on the camera either. Tyler, you're at about 77% battery right now.
I know. I tried to shut that off too. I've been Googling this all day. These are brand new, and I can't find out how to shut this off the screen from the media mod.
It's awesome.
Wow.
So then the other thing is, if you're worried about sensitivity, if you're just sharing using Excel and want to share or Word or whatever, just share the app you're using
Yes.
if you can. I do that all the time. I have a bunch of stuff that I don't want the rest of the room looking at, and I'll just share the one thing that I want them to focus on. And then, of course, it trips me up when I do have to do full screen share because I wind up with extra stuff and need to know problems.
Oh, and that reminds me, Lee, we know this because we've done it for years with screen sharing, right? But those that are now working from home, sharing their screens for the first time, turn off all your notifications, right? All of us have presented before in taught classes, and there's nothing worse than like the ridiculous emails and messages we send each other to pop up while you're teaching or on a Zoom call.
Either that or like my partner Josh is guilty of this. When you call him, it rings everything.
Yep.
Right? Skype, Hangouts, cell phone, Discord, Slack. It rings everything, and it's just oh man.
Yeah, turn off those
Like, yep, you're getting a call.
I have a former coworker that while we were doing a video conference together, we were sitting in the same room using his laptop and joined in a video call with a customer. He was receiving sexy text messages from his wife.
Yep.
If you catch my manner of speaking, and they included photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. Yep. It was a good day.
Lots of explaining to do.
Yep. So
That's important.
turn those notifications off.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the other thing is mind the tabs that if you're sharing your screen and you've got 150 tabs open on Chrome, number one, your computer is going to be extremely slow, and number two, everybody's going to make fun of you and say, "Dear Lord, man, give that thing a rest."
Right, Tyler?
Well, also that goes to OPSEC too, right? The people can see what tabs you have open. They can see what browser extensions that you have.
They can't see what tabs you have open if you have 150.
That's true. All I see is the little X's, if I can even see that, if there's enough tabs open.
And then 40 of them have audio, which start playing all at the same time. Yep.
Especially when it crashes.
I love that. Where's the audio coming from game that you get to play with Chrome sometimes, right?
So I know Johnny had a couple more quick comments about some of the AV things, and then we should probably consider wrapping it up.
I agree.
For sure. So let me. All right, you guys can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What?
All right. Exactly. So I just kind of wanted to just go through some headphones. So these are my personal headphones that I have. If you want to use, like, if you have like a mic that like Scott has or the PR40, These are $100. They're Sennheiser HD280 Pros. I've had my pair since 2011, and they still work fantastically. They have great all-around sound. The next one that I'm going to share
is Focal Utopia or
so
Go Home.
I don't have the Focal Utopias because those are going to break the bank a little bit.
Nah.
Paul, what's the price point on those?
Those are $3,000.
Yeah,
that's not including the amp you're going to need to drive them.
Exactly.
By the way.
So I'm going to drop this in here. These Paul has,
Love those.
which I
Yes.
fell in love with, and our host of Security Weekly News, Doug White. He actually is going to get a pair of these because he likes them so much. He likes them so much. He wanted me to give him the model. So
They look
these
comfy.
are the Bayer Dynamic
wicked comfortable.
DT880s. They're semi-open, which basically means that you can hear what's coming through very well. But you can also, like, if I'm talking to Paul and I'm saying something to him, if he had, closed back headphones, I think what were the other ones, Paul, that you used to use?
Oh, I've had probably well over a dozen different headphones that I've gone through to find the right ones for the set that has the Heil, right? Because I need a set of headphones. I have a mic. I just need a set of headphones. Now, like I said, I actually have a pair of Focal Utopias. They're my favorite headphones in the world. They're not made to do a broadcast like this when you have a microphone. They're made to be connected to a really nice amp and listen to music, right?
Yep.
So I had to search for headphones that would work the best during a broadcast, taking into account I don't want to be totally closed off. I still want to be able to hear people talking to me around me, but not have it be overwhelming. I want them to be super comfortable. I don't want them to look ridiculous on camera either, because I had a pair of Mr. speakers that were nice, but they looked ridiculous on camera just because of the design, right? The strap and it just looked funny.
Yeah, I think the strap. I don't know. Were those Bayer Dynamics too, Paul? Because I like the strap. Went
No,
over your
those
head,
were
but then
Mr.
it had
speakers.
like an arch over it. It
Yeah.
kind of looked like a helicopter headset.
Yes.
But those were totally closed back. So like,
Right.
if I was trying to talk to you, they're totally noise canceling, so you wouldn't be able to hear. So
I mean, and I've had like well over 30 different pairs of headphones in the past 15 years of doing podcasts, right, and editing audio. So go back to the Bayer Dynamics. They
Yep.
are the ones that I totally recommend if you need a nice set that doesn't break the bank of headphones to where whether you're going to listen to, they're most versatile. Listening to music, I even think they're rated ohm-wise to be able to connect to your phone. And while you're doing a broadcast or whatever, if you have a microphone and need headphones, that is by far my top recommendation. And they are $229. Sometimes you can find them on sale.
Yep, $229. Yeah, I mean they're super comfortable. They're lightweight. They're semi-open back, so you can hear through them, and the quality's fantastic. I really like those. So Paul, I fell in love with those too, as well as Doug did. So I definitely recommend those.
Yep.
Now going if you're like Joff or Scott. Scott, are you using external speakers right now? I assume so, correct?
Yeah. I'm on the external speakers now, but I'm also rocking a set of Audio Technias.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To help not only listen to what's going on, but also to dial in the voice.
Yep.
You know?
Got it. So these next ones I'm going to throw up. These are speakers, which I highly recommend. It's a very similar model to what we have in studio, Paul. So these are the M Audio BX5 D3s. I have the BX5As. I bought them in, I think, 2012. They still scream. They're awesome. They have a very natural sound. Anything you play through them, I personally really like. I'm trying to look for the term, but it's like whatever they want you to hear is what you're going to hear. So those really do it well. I think they're 5-inch powered studio monitors. They're 150 each. So if you do like external speakers, like Joff or Scott, over like wearing headphones, I definitely recommend those. Those are really good.
I also, Johnny, for powered bookshelf speakers or monitors, Edifier makes some really nice bookshelf speakers.
Yep.
Even their lower so I have these in my man room. These are the Edifier R1280Ts. They're powered bookshelf speakers. They're $99 for a pair.
Yeah, that's.
And I mean, being like a really picky, snobby audiophile, I like for $100. They're awesome. They're awesome.
That's a super awesome.
I went a little bit above board of what y'all are doing. So I have a Razer Leviathan, right? Desktop bar plus a speaker on the floor, and then coming out of my computer, I'm going into a Yamaha mixer, and then XLR out to a JBL EOS 15, right? And also going to, and this is one of my favorite pieces in the office, a 18-inch Seismic Audio Enforcer.
Seismic's
Both of them
awesome.
are
That sounds
self-powered. You
serious.
don't need
Seismic
an extra
Audio is
amp
awesome.
for it.
Yep.
Say what?
Seismic Audio is awesome.
Dude, so I have a set of coins over here on the side, and it's fun when you see the coins jumping off the back wall because of the base.
That's awesome. That's you're doing it right.
And then going back to Cam's Quick. I know we mentioned the Logitech 922p. That's going to be right here. I want to say the price. Lee, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the price is right around $100 for this webcam.
You can get it for between 70 and 100, depending, except for right now.
Got it. Yep. And then so that one's awesome. That one plugs in right USB. Tyler, right now, I believe you're rocking the Hero 8, correct?
Yep, Hero 8 with the medium on.
Yep, so that one's awesome. It's got 4K. So some of the USB captures that we use for the HDMI captures, that's the StarTech that we use right there in studio. So that one's about $183. That plugs in USB, and then you plug the HDMI right into it. So that's how we're.
I think that's Windows only.
It might be
maybe
I
Mac,
don't know.
but definitely Windows.
We may have it running on
definitely
Linux.
not Linux. Put it that way.
Maybe not Linux. Maybe I don't know. I can't remember what it was. And then here we have the Magewell. This thing's awesome. USB 3 right into the computer. That's an HDMI capture as well. Now this is more so if you're running like a DSLR or you have like a mini HDMI coming out of a Hero 4. That's going to do the trick. We use this at conferences. That's not breaking the bank too much. It's $300. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Just wanted to add a couple of those.
Yeah, so if webcams are out of stock right now, you get a camera that you have or buy, and you plug it into an HDMI capture, and that's the source for your Zoom calls.
Right, or you can use the one that you cover up by tape on your laptop.
Yes, that works too. Yep.
Don't forget it's there.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Larry, any final topics you want to cover?
No, I think the big one is in these interesting times across the planet. Be well. Think about your mental health. Think about your work environment. Try to connect with your coworkers and friends the best that you can while, doing what your state, local, and federal and other governments are telling you to do. Reach out to folks using your nice new microphones, headsets, and webcams. And your new Slack and Discord channels, and when you do so, think about what's behind you while you're eating your broccoli. I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks,
right.
Larry. Larry, you want to take us out?
Sure, because over and out.